So, everyone knows what fan characters are, right? I mean, they're in every single video game, TV show, movie, literally everything that involves, well, characters. There's always fan characters, fan concepts, and fan FNAF characters are no different. Matter of fact, there's over hundreds upon thousands of FNAF fan concepts and fan art and fan animatronics and fan games, fan songs. It's really amazing, but when you take a look at the fan characters, there's a lot of good ones and there's also a couple of bad ones. Today I'm going to be talking about my FNAF fan character, Barky. You may know him from the Tapes of Barky series, and of course, some of you guys might be like, oh, well, he doesn't really matter, he's not that cool, he's just a dumb, foxy reskin or something, I don't know. No. Of course, if you've been following along with the series, you obviously are aware of some of the things that he's responsible of, like the 1975 October Massacre, which, yeah, if you don't know what that one is, watch tape number 3 in the Tapes of Barky series, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Yeah, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, then let me give it a brief history lesson. In 1975, there was a man that had seen that was finding some strange tapes, or at least one specific person that was finding one tape, and he listened to it, and while Barky was chasing him, bashing down doors, and all the creepy stuff. And the man was later found dead and missing, and along with several bodies being found that were either mutilated, with their literal skeletons ripped out, and even some with their own spines being used as nooses to hang them. It's pretty disturbing stuff, but when it comes to the who was responsible part, then, well, that's when Barky comes in, because of course Barky is involved in almost everything, pretty much everything that happens in the Tapes of Barky series, which of course is why I'm starting this new series, which is terrifying or cool facts about Barky. This is episode 1, which I'll be talking about. Sorry, my nose is really stuffed right now. All of a sudden, I don't know why. But anyways, like I said, is where I'm going to be talking about one specific fact about the character, and basically branching it off into different sections, and basically things that explains it. And of course, I'm going to also been putting in some random Barky facts as well. Which I think would be really cool, which is, of course, if you should know, Barky is something I would like to call an agony feeder, which is a being that very much feasts on the power of agony. Remnant, whatever you want to call it, with the black ooze and stuff. But of course, when it comes to certain things, certain people, I should say, there's always, consequences to doing these things. While Barky, on the other hand, completely breaks those rules and does whatever he wants and doesn't care. Because, this is where this interesting fact comes in, which is going to be one of Barky's most dark secrets, one of the most twisted secrets about him, which also explains what he's able to do. Which, this one, specifically, I will be talking about is, of course, if you have kept along with the FNAF timeline, then you would know that the main villain, William Afton, has done numerous rituals to gain immortal life, which all of them led to consequences, specifically demons getting summoned and trying to kill him. This is where Barky comes in. So William, in this continuity, in this universe, he noticed this and found a certain solution, which of course it would explain more of his demonic powers that he has, because in case you don't know, he's like Michael Myers, basically, in the new Halloween Kills movie. The more he kills, the more he transcends, the stronger he gets, the more immortal he becomes. So, of course, he's obviously very well advanced with making technology, so he created a certain device that has agony inside of it because those demons, well, they are attracted to anything that has agony inside of it. That anything that's collected remnant as well, that's not supposed to have it. For example, humans. Humans are not supposed to have that sort of power because it goes beyond what possibly is in the physical eye of the supernatural world. Remnant, of course, is a demonic power that only certain beings and very few beings can possibly possess. Like Nightmare, well, probably Nightmare, who knows, like Shadow Bonnie, and of course William Afton. And Into the Pit Spring Bonnie, and if you want to include this character, Ralpho, which is going to be in the Bunny Call book. Which is in the Bunny Call book in the first story. Which is a lot like Pit Bonnie in a way. Into the Pit Spring Bonnie, whatever. Still the same thing. So, yeah. Anyways. Anyways, so of course, William was obviously doing something with this. He created a certain agony demon attractor. Kind of like the thing from Ghostbusters, where there's this device that sucks the ghosts in and keeps them contained in a way. Except this one was a lot more modern, I guess you could say, because all it is just something that attracts demons and they get trapped. It's kind of like how, how a spirit, if they go somewhere, go to a different world, they can get sealed off and locked in there forever, like a prison. So that's basically what William wanted to do. Sorry, my sister is screaming for some reason. Anyways, so what William does, he goes back to the original Barky location, Barky's Party Canteen from 1970 to 1975, and puts the chip inside of Barky, specifically his brain. Which, this is also going to be talking about some of the most twisted things that William Afton has actually done with the suit as well, which I'll get to later after I talk about this. So he puts the little agony chip that sucks the demons and seals them off thing into Barky's head. The demons that are summoned to try and take William away, they instead sense the strange feeling, the strange agony that is so powerful that they just couldn't resist from, well, getting to it. So what do? They find the Barky suit, and what happens? They get sucked inside the Barky suit. Of course, the demons are very angry about this. They're very mad, and decide to put a curse on the suit, which is, whoever puts on the suit will immediately die from wearing it. On top of that, the Barky is also a spring-lock suit. So, there's already a very high, it being a spring-lock suit is bad enough, considering you would already have a very high chance of dying, but demons cursing it of whoever would wield the suit would immediately die. And, of course, would be poisoned by the minds of the demons. Which, by the way, is a very freaky thing, considering that the person that is inside the Barky suit now, that isn't William, now has these powers, and is now poisoned by the demons. Which, in case you don't know, this tiny chip, contained over thousands upon thousands of demons. Which is why, well, of course, something I should say, and you've probably seen in some of the Barky pictures I have, specifically the one that I always use, is the fact that Barky always has a glowing red eye in his right eye where his eye patch should be. Now, I guess you could assume that, it's like part of his suit. It's part of the end of Skeleton's side, kind of like Withered Bonnie. But, in this one, it's more of like, it's kind of like The Rake, where if you just stare into his eyes, but mostly the red light in his right eye, you get to go into a trance. You can't get out of it, in a way. And they say it's the eye of 1,000 demons, because you see over several slit pupils inside of the eye, inside of another, if you look very, very close. So yeah, Barky's not only, on top of that, a zombie Springtrap-like character, but is also a demon. Which, That's terrifying. Like, don't get me wrong, characters like Springtrap, Nightmare, and Dreadbearer, and Grim Foxy, all their sakes are still very creepy in many ways. But when it comes to the actual character itself and their personality, and what they're able to do in their background, then you know how terrifying the actual character is. Don't get me wrong, when I first created Barky, which was like 2 years ago, I didn't really care for him. I thought he was just like a stupid character, like, oh, meh. Just a character you go to, and then you just never come back to again. But, the thing that I learned about Barky that I didn't even know myself is the more you get to know about him yourself, the more you understand how creepy and dark and twisted of a character he is. It happened to me. I started having nightmares of him a couple of times, which is really freaky considering how Scott, the creator of, FNAF, actually said that he had nightmares of Bonnie while creating FNAF 1. Only Bonnie. Which is creepy because I think Bonnie was the first character he made before he made the rest of the gang. But, yeah, that's something else that's terrifying about Barky, I mean, being a zombie, like someone that's inside the suit now, and having one of the most sadistic, masochistic, and sociopathic minds, along with being cursed and somewhat aided by demons. Yeah, that's terrifying. But now we come to the next thing, which is exactly what the twisted stuff William Afton did actually do with this suit. Alright, so of course you should know how creepy Foxy himself already is. I mean, any character in the FNAF universe with sharp teeth is pretty creepy, let's be honest, considering the background of the character. And of course, Foxy in FNAF 1, a lot of people would say that he was the scariest character out of all of them. I mean, in some way, as much as it looks like Freddy's the main antagonist, it's actually technically Foxy, because, Foxy, in many ways, Foxy always, because, Foxy, as much as Freddy is technically one of the, would be the main antagonist, it seems more like Foxy's the main antagonist of the game than Freddy is. Because Foxy, on the other hand, he's always active. He's always coming for you. You never expect it. You never expect it when he's coming towards you. And usually when you do, it's usually already too late. I mean, think about it. There's plenty of times when Foxy bangs at the door, and you're already on your last 10%, he drank the entire thing, helping Freddy. So in some way, Foxy is technically the main antagonist of the game. But yet again, Freddy is still more of an antagonist than Foxy is. Although, Foxy would still be just as much as an antagonist as Freddy is. Let's be real. Alright, so let's get on to exactly the twisted things that William Afton did with the Barky suit before the other person. I'm not going to be leaking his identity. That's something you'll have to figure out yourselves. I'll give you a hint. It's a kid. Okay, I'll just give you a hint. It's around a kid that's around ages 12 to 13. My age right now, actually. Anyways. Now, of course, you would probably assume, since this suit was made in 1970 to 1975, and William Afton didn't really start killing until 1983, so would that really mean that William did nothing bad with this suit? Well, no. Matter of fact, in this continuity and in this world, William Afton did some of the most twisted things with this suit. I mean, don't get me wrong, seeing a character with a sharp blade hook is already creepy, but considering how it's the main antagonist and knowing what he's done, it adds a lot more twistedness to the character and explains some of the kill tactics that Barky has, like specifically ripping out the entire skeleton out of people. Yeah, that's one of the things that William Afton did. And on top of that, mutilation, decapitation, and on top of that, just watching the victim suffer. Because, in case if you don't know, some of you might not know, most of you might not know, Barky usually, when he wins, he usually slowly watches his victims die, He he just watches, stares into you before you die, you know. It's like, you can't, it's pretty much like he's the last thing you see. His face is the last thing that you see. You know, it's pretty terrifying, considering how now Barky has really become from, like, a normal FNAF character you'd expect to a character that you never actually suspect, and one of the possibly, in some ways, and to some people, probably the darkest FNAF character. Now, don't get me wrong, Springtrap is probably, obviously, way more iconic than Barky is, considering the fact how Barky is a fan character, for one, although when I create Barky, I like to say that Barky is a canon character. He would work in the FNAF universe. He would work in the lore. Because, I mean, I don't know one thing about him that wouldn't really work. Because everything that I put into his backstory, and everything that he's able to do, and the things that he has done, and of course the character he is, it would always work in the FNAF universe, because everything that he's done is stuff that we've seen before in the FNAF universe, just, like, multiplied by 10. On top of that, he's basically like the freaking Jason Voorhees, Jack the Ripper, like, and all these other sort of killers and beings, you know. He's like a bunch of them combined in so many ways, you know. How he's he's even similar to Michael Myers, considering how he stalks his victims, like you know, an animatronic boogeyman. Yeah, it's very terrifying to think that Barky is a lot darker than we think. Even I didn't know he was this dark. Even after coming up with, like, most of the stuff that he's able to do and going back at it, I'm like, oh my god, okay, that's terrifying. Yeah, actually, I do have a question at the end, and I want anyone to answer this. You can if you want to. What would you do if you saw Barky outside your bedroom door? What would you do? How would you feel? Like, what would you feel if you saw Barky in your bedroom hall slowly approaching you? Let me know in the comments below. I'm Sir Plaster Uzumaki, signing off.